What's going on, guys? Niko here, and in this video, I'm going to show you 5 different techniques that you can use to make your drop sound epic, large, full, whatever you want to call it, because all of this happens actually in the build where we create that tension, that suspense. So I'm working on a remix right now for Clean Bandit, and this is the example I'm going to be showing you guys, and we're going to break it down today. Quick announcement before we jump in, I'm giving away 1,000 melodies royalty free, so if you want a chance to win, comment down below, Melody Mastery. I select a winner every Friday, and there's also free MIDI packs in the description down below. Let's jump in. The first trick that I want to show you guys that I'm using in my build is actually very simple. It's not hard at all. So when we're going into the drop, one thing we should always keep in mind is the volume. So I have on my master chain right here a simple Logic gain plugin. And you'll notice as we go into the drop and we go further and further, the volume actually goes down and then it jumps right back up before the drop happens. And this actually lowers the volume so that when the drop hits, it hits you even harder, right? So very simple thing that we're doing. Normally I'll go 8 measures before the drop and I'll vary it anywhere between 1 dBs to 3 dBs. Okay, that's the first simple tip that you can implement right away into your music. So the second technique that you guys can use is known as rhythmic variation. So adding different rhythmic patterns, especially in the percussions, in the kick and in the drums. So I have my snare bus right here, and we'll just listen to a couple of the measures going into the drop, and then I'll break this down. So there's a bunch of different things going on. I've layered a bunch of snares just to change out the elements of it, and this took a while. But if we just look at one snare right here, the Echo Soundworks Chill, we play it once every measure, so every quarter note. Then we have a bunch of 8th notes here, so we're splitting up a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then right before the drop, we actually even split it up further into 16th notes. And I'm actually varying this across all my drums. This Nicky Romero snare is actually doing 8th notes is much earlier on. Meanwhile, this snare has, starts off with quarter notes, 8th notes, 16th notes, and then we even get smaller, right? So really what I'm doing here is just varying up the rhythms in my snare. And when we even look at our kick drum right here, and I just show you the kick, we have every quarter notes. Let me just solo this. And if I wanted to, what I could even do further is take this here. Let's unfreeze it. I could take these notes right here, and I can double them again, adding that different rhythmic variation. Now, the third thing that's going on throughout all of my drop is I am using EQ and filters. And what we want to do before the drop hits is we want to remove all of our low end, all of our bass, because the main elements in the drop are our kick drum right here. And if we just look at our kick drum, there's all these low frequencies, right? And when you're in a club, when you get hit with the kick drum, that's the main reason why you feel the drop, that and the sub, right? So what we're doing going into the drop here, there's a lot going on. But if we look at our mastering chain, going back to this, what I've done is I've actually high passed a bunch of frequencies here. So if I look in and you see here what's going on right before the drop, I'm actually high cutting, and we can even watch it happen on this FabFilter Pro Q2. Right here, watch this. You notice that right then and there, we high passed all these frequencies, and when the drop hit, it was so much more impactful because we added back the frequencies. So the fourth tip I have for you guys to do in your build is to make it more narrow. Make the stereo image more narrow. What is the stereo image exactly? Well, whenever you have a song, we have all these different instruments, and if you think about it this way, a mentor told me this, think about a stage and think about an orchestra where you have all these different instruments playing in different areas, and that comprises of our mix. So what we want to do to the mix is we want to make it more narrow and basically squeeze everyone together. Think about this. You have a big stage where you have all these violinists, celloists. We're squeezing them all together so the sound isn't as wide. And that's what we want right before the drop. Our builds need to narrow up And then once the drop hits, we spread it out and you get hit with that full wall of EQ, that wall of power. So what we're doing here on the master chain is we're taking the entire track, all the instruments, and we're squeezing them together. And you could be drastic here. You don't have to be super drastic. I'm just going to show you an example of how this works. I'll make it super drastic. Let me just bring this down all the way and just listen in. You can watch. Now that's a very drastic example. I'm not going to go that deep on the stereo image. I'm going to do it pretty lightly here, but that's something that you can be doing. Now, whether you're using a stereo imaging tool or maybe in your drop, you're just adding more instruments that are more wide, that have a larger stereo image. And again, guys, if you have any comments, just let me know in the comments if you have any questions or you're confused about this stuff. I love to make these videos better and better as I go. So the last one that I want to talk about actually is adding instrumentation going into your drop. And there's obviously risers. There's more things that we can be talking about here. But the one thing that you can be doing to add more impact to your drop is actually adding in some more different variation as we get closer and closer to the drop. So you'll see here, our build is really 16 bars. It's a longer drop, but as I'm going closer and closer to the build, I'm adding in more instruments. So you see here, out of nowhere, I've added in all these different instruments. Let's just go to our drum bus and you can see here. And then you look at our clap bus, I'm adding in more instruments. And we get closer. Like I just added this clap in out of nowhere, right? So I'm adding more instruments, which obviously is going to increase the volume, but we're mitigating that by lowering it on our mastering chain. Now you can go in here and you can even start looking at some of the effects, and a huge component of EDM drop specifically is the risers. So you see here, I'm adding a couple of downlifters right before the drop comes in. We have more, adding more. And I'm also doing this in the vocals. So if you just look at the acapella here and I zoom in, you can see that, again, this is a rhythmic thing, but it's also adding in more things, right? So we're going in here. So that's it, guys. Those are the 5 tips and 5 weapons that you can be using whenever you're building your builds. Again, we have the volume changes and automation on our master channel. We're adding in different rhythmic patterns and making things sped up more. So we're going from 16th note to 8th notes to, or 8th notes to 16th notes. We are using our EQ and our filters to take out the lows and also take out the highs too. I didn't cover all of it here because I want to keep these videos quick and to the point, right? And then the last ones we're changing our stereo image. We're making it more narrow. And then when the drop hits, it's more wide. And finally, we're adding in a couple more instruments, whether it be risers, whether it be percussion, whether it be violin, strings, whatever it else may be. So those are the 5 techniques that you can be using to make your drops more epic. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go down below, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what else you'd like to learn. Check out all the free MIDI packs that you can download and get access to start getting advanced and making your productions better and better. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Niko here again, and I will see you guys next time.